All right. Good afternoon, good morning, everyone, wherever you are. Let's give it one more minute. I see a lot of people are now loading into the event. We'll get started. I think, yeah, it's definitely getting off now. Hello, everyone, and welcome into the first big webinar that we're doing this year, the first roadmap update for, in this case, Q1. What we're going to do today is a lot, actually. We have a lot to cover. I'm really excited about this session. We have some very talented people here today. A lot of the key people making the decisions in the direction of the Inforcer product. We have George here as a lead product manager. We have Frederick, and Dan as well presenting. So we're 4 people here, both presenting live, demoing things, but also answering your questions in the chat. What we'll be doing today is we're going to cover, I'd say, some of the highlights that you might have missed from Q4. We'll do some demos there as well. Still have time to ask your questions then. Then we'll go over, I think, what many of you are here for, some of the highlights, some of the things that we've been working on, some of the things that are really, really close. Some of them might actually be shipping next week. And then we'll have hopefully some time for Q&A. All right, let's just jump in. I think it is very important for us to emphasize the following. When we develop the Inforcer product, Inforcer platform, we like to do so with you, right? So many of the things that we're working on, many of the things that we recently launched, they actually came from our customers. Our partners have given feedback throughout the development process. So we can actually make sure that when we release something, it's spot on, it's good. And with that, we also like to innovate rapidly. If you look at last year, a lot of it, we've shipped a lot of different things. But we want to keep going like that. The whole view that we have is ship fast, learn quickly, improve, and just make sure we solve real problems for you. And then when I look at the last year, many of you might not have been there throughout the entire year because we've grown a lot, but the year was quite incredible on many different fronts, but especially on the product delivery side. So when I look at this slide, and there's a lot here, but the green ones are the big features that we launched throughout the year. And then the orange ones are the new policies and the new things that we introduced so you can support and manage them. Things like Teams and Purview were added last year. But on the feature side, there were so many highlights. I do want to call out a few because I think last year we've completely transformed the Inforcer product. And it started off with the RBAC, role-based access control feature that we delivered, which back then was the #1 thing people were asking us to do. Really made it, I'd say, ready for the larger MSPs, larger teams. We introduced the AI policy summaries, which I think was a big deal for making Microsoft easier to manage, making it easier for you to decide, do I want to really deploy this policy right now? Showing the user impact in an understandable way. I thought it was such a great example of how AI can actually be really, really useful. We launched tenant assessments, which helped with our MSP showing value from day one, articulating where the problems are and helping our customers win business there. Part of that, or following there, is the Copilot readiness assessment that we launched. And I think that was a big deal as well. Many of you are thinking about Copilot a lot. This readiness assessment helped articulate the value of Copilot, showing who should get it first and also what needs to be done first. It really helped sell AI plus security in one project for many. By the way, we're doing a lot more with that, with Copilot. And then last but not least, we launched the new tenant. We'll talk about that in a second as well. That was a big, big project for us. Now, a lot of this was driven by you. And one of the things we've done is launch a new feature request system, a new road mapping system to help channel your feedback in a much better way. We launched that near the back end of last year, December 17th. And right now, if you go in, there's like more than 400 ideas in the system right now. And we see a lot of traction there and like a lot of new ideas, 77 new ideas since then, a lot of comments, a lot of upvotes. Please keep doing that. That really, really helps us. We look at this all the time, and I think it's such a great way for us to figure out what makes most sense. Because with a product like Enforcer, there are like a million things you can do, and we want to make sure we cater to your needs. Right now, when I look at what we're hearing, and we're hearing that from our road mapping system, but also from our customer advisory board sessions that we run occasionally, we're hearing a couple of major trends. I think the big ones are, first of all, like do more of the same. Make sure you have, as Enforcer, you have full coverage of everything in M365. A lot more policies, a lot more settings, in-tune apps, things like that come up all the time. Also, people ask us for more automation, specifically around reporting, but also many other things that people now do manually in the Enforcer product. And then people also tell us do more with the sales tools that you've been developing. Prospect assessments is one thing that comes up all the time. A lot more around Copilot, more reporting around SharePoint or licensing. Things like that are very, very popular. And that's at least what we're hearing. If you're not agreeing with any of this, make sure to tell us what you need in our systems there. All right. With that, let's talk a little bit about what we recently delivered. And for that, I'd love to invite George to take you through some of the recent developments. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Matej. And trusting that the click-through of sharing screen works, there we go. So both of these topics, I'm actually going to do a very quick demo, just to anyone feel like they had a crazy end to 2025, didn't quite have a chance to use Enforcer as much as they wanted to, or haven't had the time to learn them. But just as a starting recap, first up, we built out a whole toolkit to help enable your partner center onboarding through Enforcer, and actually a bit more broadly, just help you get your tenants connected up to partner center and establish those GDAP relationships. That can be such a long, painful, boring task if you've ever had to do this the manual way. And thankfully, all future tenants for you lot, hopefully you can use this tool now to get those tenants connected up nice and quickly. So that's a big one for getting tenants into Partner Center and into Enforcer. And then next up, we did a huge update just at the end of last year. And this was about 4-5 of the top voted feature requests all in one. We had to really, at times it felt a little bit like changing the tire as the car was moving. But custom baselines that we wanted to do actually had massive implications to tenant alignment, and tenant alignment needed to be upgraded in so many ways to support the new functionality. So we just went with quite a big release in December. The ability to fully tune how a baseline looks, if it includes all policies or just in-tune policies, and also on the alignment tool itself, the full freedom to accept individual granular deviations or to set a deviation to expire after a certain period of time. There is so much you can do now, and it's just going to be better for me to show it a bit hands-on. But first, I'm going to share my screen and go into the Partner Center management toolkit that we built. So let's share. Oh, bit risky sharing the full screen, but I'm on private Teams, so hopefully it will be all right. And first up, you will see that as you go to your All Tenants page, there is now a new tab, Partner Center Manager. You can also get here as you click Add Tenants and choose Partner Center. And this really is an end-to-end toolkit to get a tenant into your Partner Center and fully ready to onboard to Enforcer. So you'll begin, if you don't have the basic reseller relationship yet, you'll begin by clicking this button. This is a universal link that would put any tenant into your Partner Center. So you'll approve this invitation as the global admin of your customer. Then they will appear inside Inforcer, but they will likely have something like this, no GDAP configured. And to fix that, we're going to generate with some reversed engineered API calls from Microsoft, generate a GDAP relationship. You can choose just how many roles. If you want just the minimum required for Enforcer, that's those 11 there. If actually you're looking to use GDAP for your account managers to have read-only access and your different engineering teams to have varying levels of access, this 45 roles, which is documented here, gives you a lot of freedom to have various levels of access in the future. So you'd create that, give it a moment or two, and we'll hand you back the GDAP link that you have to approve as global admin. I wish we could have automated that bit, but sadly, just not possible. There's a certain amount of security that Microsoft will mandate, of course. And with a refresh, which I'm not going to pain you with now, that tenant will now show up as green over here. Or of course, I have to accept the relationship too. Last quick one is, it's all very well having a GDAP relationship that is well configured, but if you've not actually set up anyone to use it, and I'm scrolling way down the list here, I guess it's on page 2, I've definitely got a tenant around, here we go, MSFT here. They've got a good GDAP relationship, but no one's actually configured to use it. So here's where we'd recommend creating a Enforcer onboarders group. I'm actually going to use George example instead here because it's definitely got me in it. This is how you can assign people to use that GDAP relationship. And again, with a bit of a refresh, this will now go to green. And then it's simply a case of select the tenants you need, onboard, and enjoy the new animated onboarding process page. So much more control here. We've even made a few improvements to how to do an onboarding with Global Admin too, but I'll leave that for you guys to investigate on your own. So that's a whole lot about the Partner Center improvements, but let's move on to alignment. And again, I could spend an hour just on this, but I promised Matej that I wouldn't, so I shan't. But let's have just a little look around and highlight some of the most powerful parts of the new tenant alignment. So first up, if you have, okay, a little bit of imagination here, if you have multiple deviations, what you're now able to do is select just 1, 2, as many as you need, and accept just those property differences as a deviation. This looks good to me. I hope you all put much better reasons than I'm doing here. You can also allow this to expire. So actually, in a couple of days, this deviation will no longer exist. But there we go. You'll notice that very rapidly, the status of this policy is now updated and it's put itself into the right place. That was device compliance settings. So if you used tenant alignment a lot previously, you know that the whole page had to refresh and there was a lot of reloading all the data. That's no longer the case. Now, I'm actually going to go one step further, slight fingers crossed for the demo gods, and just make another small tweak to this admittedly very simple setting, which is device compliance here. So now what we'll see that was not previously the case is that upon a refresh, this policy here is going to hop back into the unaccepted deviations. And I'm almost tempted to like go hands-free here and wait for this to finish. But that's a big thing. Previously, if you had an accepted deviation, that was the whole policy just sort of accepted as it's different and it will be forever. We now have complete tracking of each individual part that you accepted so that future changes will now also be presented to you. And of course, here we are back at where we started. And you know what? I could just align this and this property would be kept as it was on 31 instead of 30. This one will be set back to true. So you get so much freedom here. I'll just point out that there's all sorts of ways to present the data. You can go table view. You can group your customers by alignment score instead of by baseline. And I hope you enjoy all the new tools that are available there. Okay, I think that's probably all for now. There's loads of videos around in our documentation. I might just drop a couple in chat as well if you want to see this in a bit more detail. But with that, Matej, back over to you to the slide deck.
Wonderful. Yeah, great demo, George. Hopefully you guys are happy with that as well. And do let us know if you have any questions or comments in the Q&A panel or in the chat. Um, so yeah, but that's in the past, right? Like we've had a busy December, a very busy November and January. Uh, this is all very recent stuff, but this is not all we're working on. So there's a lot more happening. And for that, I'd love to ask Dan to take us through some of the new things.
Absolutely. Well, hey everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and all the rest. I do have control. Good. Okay, nice. Well, let's look to the future. So we have a very exciting thing that we're working on at the moment, and I think it's been requested for quite a while, and it's quite a mammoth task for us to actually achieve this, and it's prospecting, right? It's the idea of the ability to send a magic link out to your, financial prospects that are out there who aren't your customer yet, or maybe they're not open to, opening all the permissions in the world. And prospecting is the ability to provide read-only access to a tenant. So then you can run things that are quite useful, stuff like tenant assessments that are available within the platform, but also get insights into that tenant through various other aspects of the platform as well. Now, the way that we're going to do this is a bit of a step back, actually. So we're going to think ahead to, and if it's going to let me change screen, it's not going to let me change screen, Matthias, if I could kindly ask you to click ahead for me, is looking at the enterprise application itself. Now, I think we've added so much depth to the platform, right, in terms of the amount of policies we support and the richness of going from Purview to Defender to Intune to Entra. Now, most people are pretty okay with that, but when we look at the most significant partners out there that we work with, who work with key enterprise organizations, they can't accept everything, right? They might be more open to allowing their partner to work with, Intune and Entra, but going into the depths of Defender and Purview, maybe that's a bit of a no-go. That's going into the world of data that they may not be ready for yet. So we're rethinking how onboarding works, right? Maybe you could choose which applications or products within Microsoft that you want to onboard. Now, not only that, you can also choose when you go through this process, whether it's read-only or also write access. So that's going to be true not just for prospecting, but partner center onboarding, for global admin onboarding, but also the prospecting side. But looping back slightly to prospecting, there's a few options, a little bit small, so you can squint your eyes, but I'll read these out. We're able to kind of set a permission retention period within here. So a prospect shouldn't be forever, right? You're going to be tendering this partner for maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, a month. And in that time, to be able to get the access to go in and run those reports and the assessments that you guys are, looking for within that partner to kind of find value, to upsell them to a service or show them the gaps in their security and productivity stack, then great, there's a retention period there. And that's going to allow you to effectively just ensure that that partner, doesn't feel too worried about, how long they retain access for. And finally, the link, right? This link is something that, although it says a local host down there, imagine it's a much prettier enforcer link. That'll allow you to send that directly to your partner so they can log in themselves, whether through global admin, or they can even send it to their partner to do the same. The idea behind this is that you're going to be able to brand this up in a way that is specific to you or even to that partner you're working with. So it doesn't feel too concerning when maybe another MSP comes across that specific magic link. Cool. Next slide, please, Matei. So what's a bit of a theme we're working on, right? We need to kind of make tenant hardening a lot easier. And already what George showed earlier was pretty significant in the improvements to how we can manage tenants. The idea that we don't have to think an entire tenant having to, compare directly with your customers. It's the ability to break things up to make more sense. You can break up a tenant to be specific baselines around a project, right? Deploying MAM for BYOD protection of iPhone or Android devices. It could be maybe around a license, right? How do you maximize business standard or business premium? It could also be a tier as well. It could be phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 of a security rollout that's available, within your stack. So already we've already made those improvements, but how can we make it better? So again, next slide. What we're working on in this world is our own baseline, right? Already within the platform, we have the CIS baseline, right? And it's awesome, industry best practice for security hardening that's, available within the Microsoft tenant for Intune and Microsoft 365. However, there are some considerations there, right? Which is it's just focused on security, and to be even more clear, purely enterprise security, right? It's not thinking about how security matters to an MSP or even a little mom and pop shop, down working in a dentist or a car workshop or whatever else. And that's where this comes around, right? Is we have the ability to be opinionative, right, on certain practices and policies within our own baseline, right? And that baseline is going to be managed by an awesome crew of people that we have internally, actually headed by Roy, and I did see his name pop up in the chat earlier, who's actually working through and building out these policies, but also you guys, right? When we have all of these policies that are building out, if you find, well, actually, this has some pretty serious impact, and I think in reality, this should be changed because of X. Well, this is where we come together as a community and actually kind of think about that weight between security and productivity, where obviously we always favor security, but how can we phase it out, right? The idea of slowly enabling new to make it better. We're also, with this, providing pre-built projects and tiers. Now, let's start with the tiers, right? It's the idea of here is a complete, baseline solution, right? In terms of absolutely integral security, we're calling that our core tier. And that's stuff like having MFA for all users, ensuring that Intune is, marginally protected, that you have some aspects of SharePoint hardened, but then it goes up a few other tiers, right? This is going enhanced and then strict, and it just gets deeper and deeper into the Microsoft stack in security. And in fact, it's something that you could use as a service, right? If you want to kind of offer a managed service around, a core offering for security, you can go off and run that security service for all of your partners quite easily. But within those tiers itself, we package up projects, right? So a tier isn't just a whole list of policies that don't make sense. When I think of my days in the MSP world, I delivered everything as a project, right? Again, like you can see here, I go and deliver MAM, or I go and deliver autopilot, or Teams hardening, or even enabling the functionality of SharePoint, and so on. And all of that will actually allow you to have really good autonomy to not only follow our practices, but also, allow you to change it. So if you have your own tenant, you can do whatever you want. But second, you can also you just use ours. You don't need to have a tenant, right? Which is really, really cool. But it doesn't stop there, right? I think we're going to build this baseline based on the depth of our policy depth today. However, that doesn't mean we should stop there. We're going to constantly be adding to this because there are so many policies that we want to work on and are working on that have pretty enormous impact on your day-to-day. There's stuff like detection and remediation scripts within Intune. These kind of things are just so important to make sure that Intune functions really well with compliance policies, for instance. One really cool one is quality updates. This is something that once supported, it's actually going to allow you to roll out hot patch and auto patch at scale without any real kind of damage to like that kind of rollout strategy. You can do an all-in-one, get everyone on auto patch. And there's so many more that we're looking at. And this kind of policy depth is pretty well visible, right, within our roadmap. So if you haven't logged into the roadmap site itself, go in there and have a really good look at what's available, because ultimately we're going to be steered by what kind of priorities we should be working on. And it's going to be a really hot thing that we work on, throughout the next year, let alone quarter. Now, speaking of, we have some really cool changes following George's update earlier around tenant alignment. It's great to compare a baseline to another tenant. However, when we want to check visibility of a particular setting, again, I always use the example of MFA for all users. It's a pretty important setting to me. It represents I think they changed the number now, it's 99.93% of protection for identity. Now, the reason why that's so important and so pointing within the platform to us is we just want to give you visibility to see if one setting is applied to all of your partners. So we can basically pivot the table here and allow us to go ahead and say, right, I'm going to select a setting, look at all of the customers that are available, and it will tell us who's aligned who is misaligned and who are ones where we've accepted deviations or even missing the policy. And that's going to allow you to have a whole new kind of visibility and strategy for a rollout of configuration. And also, in fact, it will allow you to kind of understand how you should be targeting your customers, because you might feel confident that everyone has MFA set up, but just one click should show you if everyone definitely does or definitely doesn't. So all really exciting updates, and heavily being worked on throughout Q1. And I'm gonna hand over to our next phase, which is how can we get you guys enforcing this even harder.
Thanks, Dan. Yeah, I'd love to get Freddie to talk a little bit more about how we can help you enforce every tenant.
Cool. Thank you very much, Mate. Yeah, I guess just as a follow-on from what George and Dan have just taken us through, I mean, there's such a fantastic array of functionality that the Enforcer platform now delivers. I joined Enforcer 6-7 months ago, and it's frenetic, how we've built more into the platform to solve, real world problems. And when you think about what we do today, it's, deploying policies, aligning with baselines, detecting drift, fixing that drift, alerting, user management, group management, assessments, Copilot readiness. There's a lot of different things. And it really, integrates tightly into M365 and gives you a lot of power and helps you be really efficient at delivering a world-class service to your customers. But something that we can see is that for some reason, you don't always onboard all of your tenants to Enforcer. And so we've really been digging into why that might be the case. And there's basically a couple of different use cases. One of them might be you've got a customer who, maybe your relationship is they're not fully managed. You do ad hoc project work where you engage them on particular topics. So you need to, understand the situation, do some reporting on their environment, come up with a solution, and then implement that project work. The second use case is, when we think about Enforcer today, it really covers the full breadth of M365, and especially on the policy depth side of things, it's really geared towards SKUs like Microsoft Business Premium, and so really we've looked at the capabilities that we've got within the platform, and we've basically come up with new options with how you use Enforcer with your customers that will really suit these various use cases. So next slide, please, Mate. So really exciting to announce that we're going to have effectively 3 different SKUs of the Enforcer product. So the Enforcer that you know and love today, that won't be changing. That's the premium SKU on the right-hand side, and so that's staying exactly the same. The first use case that I talked about, where you might have a bit more of an ad hoc relationship with a customer, maybe you mostly focus on project work. This is where the new tenant assessment SKU comes in. So you can onboard that tenant, and you'll have access to tenant assessment, Copilot readiness. If you've not used these capabilities before, tenant assessment is brilliant. It allows you to do a huge number of checks across a variety of different use cases, compliance being a great one, where you very quickly, in a matter of seconds, get really valuable insights into how that environment is configured and what you should do about it. And the same for Copilot readiness, assessing environments in a matter of seconds to understand what you need to do in terms of security, technical readiness, data governance to take that customer down their Copilot journey. And then there's the standard tenant license as well. So whereas the premium tenant license is really focused on maybe tenants that are leveraging Microsoft Business Premium, the standard tenant license is focused on tenants that are maybe focused on business standard or just SKUs which are lower than business premium at a different price point to match. So really exciting news. All I will say is if you've got any questions around the interest in this, please feel free to reach out to your partner success manager. They're more than happy to engage you on this. And if we go to the next slide, just to top it off, we're making this super easy to engage with as well. As many of you know, today, if you want to add more tenants and maybe you've, exhausted your onboarding code, you have to go speak to your rep and get more onboarding codes. Well, onboarding codes no more, RIP. You will basically be able to just self-service from within the platform. Very, very fast, takes a couple of seconds. A full audit log of the change to effectively your contract when you can buy additional licenses from any of those SKUs. And we've integrated this into the various workflows in the platform. So when you onboard a new tenant, for example, you can select precisely what SKU or product they get access to. And then you can start getting on the important stuff, which is deploying policies, aligning policies, providing service to that customer. Just to quickly highlight how easy this is, I'm going to share my screen and see if I can demo it in 10 seconds. So here we go. Hopefully someone can see my screen. There we go, thumbs up.
Yep.
Right, I'm in the Inforcer platform. 1 click, 2 clicks. The cursor, the live demo, 3 clicks, 4 clicks. Let's add 10 because I've onboarded 10 customers. I'm a very successful MSP. 5, 6, 7, 8. Done. So there you can go in about 8 clicks. I wasn't counting. I don't know down the clock going, but about 10 seconds to add 10 licenses to Inforcer. And I've got the audit log there, so I can see exactly who did it with a timestamp as well. Cool. So pretty easy. There we go. That's it from me. Over to you, Matej.
Love it. Yeah, look, there's more to talk about. Great additions there. But there's more. There's a lot more. One that I'm personally very excited about, and I know many of you are as well, is the PSA integrations. Halo, ConnectWise, Autotask, Synchro. There are a lot of requests for this, and there is truth to that, of course. Like many of the MSPs that we work with, they will tell us, like, if it's not in the PSA, it doesn't exist, right? Most of you are not looking for more dashboards. Like you have plenty of dashboards. You want your PSA to be your big engine that sets the priorities. Like work gets done in the PSA, and all your other products that you use, they need to tap into the PSA, because if it's not in the PSA, you can't bill for it, you can't track your time, etc. Like ultimately, the way I see this, the tickets are the heartbeat of any MSP. Every single thing that you need to do, everything your techs do, needs to have a ticket, and the ticket has a certain priority, category, ownership, and it's tied to a contract, and it might be tied to an SLA, and that's how you can automate the wider business. For many years, I've built integrations with PSA systems, and I know, looking back at, for example, Data RMM, how impactful that was. It was likely the most important feature for many MSPs. Now, in the last year, Inforcer built an alerting engine. Many people love what we do there, but the number one piece of feedback is it's not integrated. Please integrate it. So, and we had capabilities before. We had alerts to email and alerts to webhook, and it had certain benefits, but also certain downsides. Like especially the webhooks, it's ultimately very, very powerful. You can send it to any other application like Teams or Slack or any other middleware that you're using. But we've seen time and time again that there were problems getting that properly integrated into your PSA systems. Because most PSA systems, they don't really have good webhook support. And the email integration, it just doesn't do what you need it to do. You have tickets, and then they're not linked to the customer. They're not linked to the right category. They're not the right priority. As such, you can't assign an SLA. It's also quite cumbersome to set up if you do something with email. It's definitely gonna be painful. So this is what we had before, and I'm very, very excited to announce that we will be releasing native integrations into the most popular PSAs out there: ConnectWise, Halo, Autotask, and Synchro. And this is going to be a very, very robust, powerful integration. We're going to have all the mapping that you need, allowing you to map to companies, to the right ticket boards or queues, make sure that the statuses are correct, and also allowing you to customize the entire ticket flow, like the ticket titles and the descriptions. And it's going to be just very, very flexible to make sure it does exactly what you need it to do. And I'm just going to do a quick overview of how that works, and then I'll do a demo because I think you just want to see this. So what you will have as soon as we make this available to you is Inforcer will detect a problem in one of your many Microsoft tenants. Could be policies are changed, could be a certificate is expired, and the big one, like an MDM certificate. If that expires, you want to know about it and action it immediately. And from there, if that happens, we will automatically create a ticket for you in, for example, Autotask, and that ticket will end up exactly where you want it to be with all the right things associated to it. That's the desired state, and that's what many of you have been asking for. So let me just show you how is this going to work. Okay, I have my Inforcer demo account over here, and when we ship this, you will have PSA integration show up over here in the configuration section. And this is where you can monitor and see if all the tickets and like what tickets were created and did you have any failures there. Hopefully never. It's actually been built in a very robust way, but this is almost your audit log of everything that's going down. And you can also review your configuration. Since I've set it up already, I'm not gonna I don't have to set it up again, but my system right now is configured to work with Halo, and I can review my category mapping, my tenant mapping, my generic settings from here. So let me quickly load it. So for example, what I can do is, these are all my different alerts in Inforcer. I can map them to specific categories in Halo in this case. I can also make sure that all my Inforcer tenants are properly mapped to companies in Halo. Autotask Connect wise, it all works the same way. And one of the really cool things that we've done there is apply, I'd say, automatic mapping based on like an algorithm. If there's a big overlap in name, it will suggest a certain name to map it to, and you can just apply all the suggestions and off you go. If you've done naming in a logical way in Enforcer, like setting this up is just, it's really, really simple. Otherwise you can just map from here. And then there's also some fallback settings. So if for whatever reason a ticket can't be created because you have not done the mapping for category or tenant, it will fall back to a specific default. And here is also where you can configure your default ticket type and your default ticket status. The only thing you have to do then is when you ever have an alert that you configure, make sure to create a PSA ticket. From there, make sure to check that box. You can use the same kind of templates as you can use with emails and webhooks. Depending on your PSA, it either supports HTML or plain text. We will we will provide templates as well. So to make the setup easy, you can test it from here. And it will, let's see, it should create a ticket now. If I then go to my, in this case, my Halo system, what you will find is that the tickets are just instantly created here. Oh, am I logged out to audit Halo? Oh, no. All right, so here's the ticket. In this case, this was the HTML that I provided. I have all my new policies that were added for this tenant, but I also have something I need to action because in this case, someone added Alex to the exceptions for my exclude users for my conditional access policy. Not a good thing. So it's again, like, it's really useful to have these kind of tickets go into your PSAs, and I think it's a very powerful integration. Many of you will ask, when is this available? In one of the previous slides, I said February. What I actually meant is next week. So we're rolling this out very, very soon. I can't wait for you guys to start using this. Now, there's of course more. With more features like this, we're getting more and more requests. Like we've seen this with the alerting engine when we launched that last year as well. We hear this on our community, like you want to automate more. Ultimately, the best technician is one that is lazy, right? Like you don't want to do things manually. And that's also one of the reasons why you probably have Inforcer. You want to make your life easier. And I think there's a lot we can do to help you there. And I almost bucket them into these three categories that you have here. Check an alert, check an action, and scheduled reporting. Because depending on what you need to do, you will want to have Inforcer behave in a certain way. So check an alert is what I showed you just now, right? You have a certificate that expires or perhaps a new account that you want to know about, and it creates a ticket. And there's more. There's a long list of things that we're planning to add. Things like if there is a new forwarding rule to an external user in Exchange, or if there's an enterprise app that has not been used for a long, long time, could be a backdoor in your tenant. Or perhaps it's also a popular one, SharePoint is running out of storage. For those kind of things, you probably want to have a ticket so you can solve it yourself. And then we have check and action. It's something that we can actually do something about so that you don't have to. Good examples there are reverting a policy when it was changed. Like that specific example that I just showed you. Someone made an exception to a conditional access rule. You might just want to flip it back to the previous state. That's a check and action. But there might be more. A very popular one on our community is around Exchange. There are specific things that you need to configure for mailboxes. And you can't do that with a policy. You actually have to go in and do that with PowerShell. Well, we can build it in a way that we check if a certain flag is enabled, and if not, we will do it for you. And then we have scheduled reporting, which is almost an extension of alerting, because in this case, you don't want to have individual alerts for many, many different things. It's just a whole bunch of noise. But let's say you have disabled users that still have a license, or you have Intune devices that have conflicting policies. Those are not easy things for us to resolve, but you also don't want to get an alert for each and every one of them. It's very, very noisy. So what we will be able to do is create reports for you. And now also with the PSA integration, just deliver that where it needs to go. So, I mean, there's a lot more. And I think, Freddie, I'd love you to take people on the call through some of the other things that we're planning there.
Yeah, sure thing. So I'm just getting distracted by the chat and the Q&A. Tons of great questions and ideas.
Okay,
so yeah,
awesome.
I mean, Matteo was just talking about some of the great use cases for automation that we're looking at, and one of these indeed is scheduled reports. And yeah, I mean, fundamentally knowledge is power, right? You need information at your fingertips to identify additional project work that you might want to sell to your customers and help improve the ROI from their IT spend. You might be looking to sell them Copilot, so you want more information. Information is so important for everything you deliver as part of your managed services. So as part of scheduled reports, we'll be building a new engine so that you can take a report that you have in the Inforcer platform today. It could be some of the existing exports that we do. It could be like tenant assessment, Copilot readiness, etc., and to schedule those. So you kind of set a recurrence and a start date. But we're not stopping there. We're really looking at how we can just improve end-to-end the entire reporting experience, because as Matteo mentioned, it's just so important, and done right, it can really help you become that more efficient in the multitude of those services. So we're also looking at how you can improve targeting. Today when you create a report, it's very tenant specific. So looking to support things like tenant tags, inclusions, exclusions, similar to what we do with alerts today. Adding more options for recipients. You may well want to send your reports out as an email, but maybe you want to use a webhook, for example, or some other mechanism. I hear from many partners, they want their reports going into like a SharePoint folder structure so they can do some additional processing. So supporting those additional use cases. We're looking at how we can add additional configurability for the output. Maybe for some reports you want it as a PDF, but sometimes you just want it in a CSV export as well if you want to do something programmatic with it. Also looking to improve our PDF export experience. We've received feedback from customers. Some of our reports have a lot of information, and so we're looking to optimize and make those faster, so that you can get that information and deliver value to your customers more effectively, and just holistically improving the UX. And I guess as a spoiler for my next slide as well, we want to make this very much API first, and this is kind of a good segue, I guess, from scheduled reports. If we go back into ancient history, which was late Q3 last year, we announced and launched the REST API beta, and the feedback following that was tremendous. There's so much valuable information that we get from Microsoft, as part of the Inforcer platform. And we do a lot of processing on top of that, producing things like alignment scores and other great data that you want at your fingertips. And we started to deliver that to really unlock a number of automation reporting, integration use cases. I've put in a couple of screenshots here. That top one, I think someone built this and shipped it to production within 24 hours of us putting the REST API into beta, which I think was brave. Definitely like into production with their customers. So good job. I think George, you did like this Power BI dashboard walkthrough, and we put that on the documentation. Matej actually vibe coded an MCP server which can talk to the API as well, which I think is great. But obviously, we want to just go more with the API. If we just go into the next slide, please, Matej. We want to build on that valuable input that we got from all those beta customers and partners. And I think the first thing is all the endpoints. The way that we build the Enforcer platform, by design, it's really well structured to make everything available as part of the REST API in some way, shape, or form. So we've actually gone from just picking and choosing endpoints to thinking, well, why shouldn't we add all these endpoints to the API? So things like activity log, tenant tags, assessments, users groups, deviations, Copilot readiness. These are all on the backlog as next up for us to add to the API. And we're just going to be continuously adding to this as part of a more AI first strategy. Of course, every API is important, but some are important than others. So always open to your input on the roadmap section in feature base. So please do let us know what you would like to be added first. But also, you don't just use an API to get information, what you do today. But we want you to be able to unlock much more powerful workflows with our REST API. So the ability to make changes, let's say to configure tenant tags programmatically, to add licenses, assign them, to do things with policies, like deploy policies, for example. So we're also looking to really have the sky's the limit for what you can do with our REST API. And a couple of other things that we're going to sprinkle in. We've had tons of feedback around improvements to the existing endpoints that we're looking to implement as well. So final thing from me, I guess, is just keep the feedback coming. It's been really, really helpful. Cool. Back to you, Matej.
Wow, that was a lot. I'll say a couple of things also about automation and API, because I don't think we covered it in detail. But one of the top things that people are asking for is ever since we introduced user management, to automate more there, like scheduled user onboarding and offboarding is a popular one. It's definitely part of the plan, but also exposing things like that in the API could allow for some wonderful new workflows, like from other systems that you might use. So let me try to wrap up, because I know we've covered a lot and you might be dizzy. So I'm gonna give you a bit of a summary first, and then we might have some time for Q&A. So from left to right, very soon, like what can you expect from us very, very soon? Well, the PSA integrations are rolling out next week. We're also shipping the license self-service and the new SKUs that Freddie mentioned, likely next week. And then the new Enforcer baselines and what we're doing there is coming in February. So there's a lot of work going into that. This quarter, you can expect a lot more from us, and some of it might still be February as well. Scheduled reporting and scheduling and automation is a big part of our focus right now. It's the top thing, I believe, that is on the community feature requests right now. We'll do the read-only prospect assessments, and we'll continue doing a lot more around flexible security there. We'll work on the multi-tenant policy alignment, what Dan showed you a bit earlier. And there's a lot more coming around automation. Like I said, scheduled offboarding, reverting a policy when it was changed. A lot of those things are planned for soon. And then we'll continuously and actually increase the velocity of us adding policies and settings to the product. We'll add more alerts, more checks, and we'll add a lot more to our API. And then there are a couple of other things that are on our radar. The list you can see on the community, but I think the big ones there are, this is very popular as well, the ability to manage apps within Enforcer, and GCC High, which is supporting the tenants of the governmental cloud in the US. So those are all things that are part of the plan, but it's evolving quickly. So please make sure to check our roadmap, which you can access from within the product, and leave your feedback there, upvote what matters most, and ask your questions there as well. So I know we have received a whole lot of questions. I've personally not been able to keep track of them myself. Multitasking is hard, but is there anything that Dan, George, Freddie, you think we should be covering in the few minutes we have remaining?
Do you know, there was loads of questions as Freddie was presenting the reporting, asking, hey, can we get this in the API? Hey, is the raw data for reports in the API? And then one slide later, she said, yeah, everything should be in the API. Yeah, I think that's been a big theme. Otherwise, everyone's been chatting away and asking good questions in Q&A, but I think they've all been
Awesome.
handled primarily.
That is brilliant. Thank you for all the answering there, guys. Look, let's wrap it up then. Thank you to everyone, and I know a lot of you are here that have attended today. Keep sharing how we can make the product better for you. We have big plans this year. This is, I mean, there's even more going on that we're not presenting here today, but hopefully we will see you soon at the next one. Have a great day, and see you soon. Bye, everyone.
See ya.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day.
Cheers, everyone.